Hey everyone, I'm Bibi and I'm super excited to welcome you to a brand new Strangetown. If this is your first time on my channel, hi, welcome. I'm on a mission to renovate all of the original Max's lots, and today we're starting out with the family homes in Strangetown. If you like The Sims 2 and want to watch more videos like this, subscribe to the channel, but now let's get started. Strangetown is my favorite base game Sims 2 neighborhood. It is just so unapologetically weird and different, and we can never go wrong with making it even crazier. And I think the perfect place to start our lot renovation journey in this hood is the Specter household. Who is buried in all of Specter's garden? Will the mysterious aging outcast leave her fortune to her niece Ophelia, or is rumored to an unnamed heir? I think this is one of the best mysteries in The Sims 2, and I am ready to start working on this house makeover, so let's jump into it. Alright, we're here with Olive and Ophelia. If you've seen my first Sims 2 Let's Play video, you've already seen Olive Specter, gorgeously flashing in hot pink, throwing errors while trying to steal my newspaper. She's just such a joy. And Ophelia over here has a few default replacements on, but otherwise she looks almost identical to her original look. Of course, we'll be giving both Sims a bit of a makeover by the end of the video, but until then, we will focus on their house. Now, in my original vision for this place, I was just obsessed with one specific phrase, and that is haunted hacienda. I wanted this house to look luxurious because Olive is a professional party guest, okay? She's at the top of her career, and I imagine she has money and a good reputation. But let's not forget that half of the lot is occupied by a graveyard, so I imagine Sims visiting here are impressed and creeped out at the same time. Also, the house is built on a foundation, and I immediately knew Olive needs a basement, okay? There's no way I'm gonna leave this lot without creating some sort of dungeon situation, so that's definitely in the works. I was looking up random photos online, searching for inspiration, and I saw this building. The house that I create doesn't look anything like this in the end, but I was inspired by this entrance in particular and knew I wanted to do something similar with the build. One of the weirdest things that I saw in this build initially was like, why is Ophelia's room just, I don't know, furnished with children's toys? She's like 2 days out of being an adult and her room just looks like a child's room, so yeah, that had to go. You know, I gave her a bit more of a teenage room, but let's take down everything, all of the decorations, all of the furniture, well, most of the furniture, and start with a clean slate over here. Once again, with these lot renovations, I try to mostly stay true to the original shape and layout of the house. Sometimes I allow myself more liberties, but I think it's a much more interesting challenge to work with what is already there than just demolish it and start from scratch. So the interior layout is pretty much the same, except I did add a staircase and a basement that only Olive can access. I locked the door so that she's the only Sim allowed down there. I had to pull the house a little bit backwards to first of all leave a bit of space for the basement situation that we're working on. It needed a big staircase to get down there, and the little back room the house initially had wasn't really enough space to fit a nice staircase. I didn't want to use a spiral staircase here. This dungeon that I'm laying out, I knew what I wanted to do with the dungeon. I did make it slightly smaller in the end because I was like, it's a little bit too big. And also, I wanted a little bit of extra space for the front section that I wanted to create, in particular the entryway. So I did have to pull the house a little bit further back, but the lot had some space and it allowed for that. So it all turns out really well in the end, you'll see. The back of the house is probably the weakest part of this lot. There's no yard space there, so there's not much to do in terms of landscaping, and the house was pretty flat to begin with. I switched it up a little bit, but it's rarely an angle you'd look at anyways. I also thought it's kind of silly how the two bedrooms at the front of the house each have a door leading to, well, basically nothing. Most of the rooms didn't have windows, which I can understand as an intention. You know, the house is creepy because it belongs to a creepy lady. But it just makes for such a boring exterior, so I did add windows all over the place. They do have curtains inside though, don't worry. I also knew I wanted to do something different with the roof line. I didn't think this house needs a second floor, but the roof wasn't very interesting, so I decided to play around a bit with the ConstrainFloorElevation cheat. Ooh, the scary cheat that can break every single lot. But yeah, I did play around with the ConstrainFloorElevation cheat a little bit. I created this extra elevation right above the entrance area. That's also the dining room, so I did open up the ceiling and put a tall chandelier, which you'll see later on when we start furnishing the house. The taller middle section also combines really well with the detailed entrance I created, and overall I'm really happy with how the silhouette of the house turned out in the end. I was playing around a bit with the exterior colors. I liked the stone, but I didn't want everything to be completely gray. So I combined it with some brick walls, which matched the roof color pretty well, so it doesn't clash too much. I also switched to columns, and I use these columns that automatically connect to create arches. These are such a cool feature of the game, but I rarely use them in my builds, and honestly I rarely see other people use them in their builds as well. I don't know, they're kind of a unique thing. They don't fit in every single type of build, but I thought this house was the right place to use them. It definitely helped break the monotony of the back of the house in particular. I was playing around with the roofline quite a lot. I was experimenting with different fences, like different edges, and I settled with this mix of concrete and brick, which is basically how the house looks like anyways. I just wanted it to be not so flat, like it was really suffering from being flat. And I really like how it turned out in the end. I think it kind of it has a bit of a crypt look. It kind of looks like a luxurious crypt, which, you know, is just so on brand for all of Specter. Of course, this video is also highly edited. I spent like a billion years trying to select the perfect windows and the perfect doors and all that. You guys don't want to see absolutely every single second I spent on my builds. This build in particular, I think I spent about 4.5 to 5 hours trying to figure out everything I want about the house. There's just a lot of brainstorming about exactly how I want things to be. So yeah, I mean, one day if someone wants to suffer through this, I will upload a fully sped up, unedited Lot Renovation. Like, you'd be welcome to watch that, but it's gonna be pretty long. It's gonna be like 2 hours of me fidgeting with swatches. So if that's up your alley, I don't know, let me know in the comments below. Inside the house, we've got tiles all over the place. This is basically how the house was initially built. Like, it was just the same tile all over the place with I think stone walls. I think everything was like stone and tiles inside. Now, I didn't keep it absolutely identical in every single room, but I kept pretty much the same vibe. We don't have wooden floors or carpets or anything like that, which you would normally see in other houses. So yes, we've got tiles all over the place. Some look older, some look a little bit more polished. The color scheme is a mix of deep red, dark wood, and red brick, all blending in with monochrome shades, dark brown, and golden accents here and there. As I was trying to figure out the colors of the interior, I realized that I placed all of these windows and they all had these like light brown window frames, and I was like, wait, this just does not match anything. So I went through and recolored every single window to be this dark red. It's a bit more contrasted in some rooms, but for example, as you can see in the entrance area, it's just almost perfectly blending into the wall. It's quite seamless. When it comes to the furniture, I did try to keep up with this sort of Moroccan theme, quote unquote, air quotes, Moroccan theme that was going on. Olive had a lot of the Moroccan themed base game furniture in her house, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to give her some of those patterns, some of those shapes. That's why you see the dining chairs that I selected. Those are custom content objects, but they do fit the vibe. And we do use the base game couches in the sitting area that you'll see later on. The kitchen turned out pretty nice, pretty cozy. I like the kitchen. We have a nice knife block, which is very essential for all of Specter's house. I was trying to find a nice fridge that is going to match this kitchen, but all of the fridges that I had were like super tall. I don't know why, all of them were super tall, and they were clipping with these cabinets that we have up above the counters, so I settled with this base game fridge just in a black recolor. There's a lot of wine. Olive likes wine, or, you know, other red liquids of unidentified sources. So there's a lot of wine all over the place. A lot of people ask me about these like green squares. Like, what is this green square that you keep placing all over the place? That is basically an invisible counter space. You can place tiny appliances, or you can place that, let's say, on just a generic table, and Sims will go and cook there or serve food there. So it's very nifty when you're just doing very detailed kitchens, for example, and you're putting clutter all over the place, because Every time you put clutter, Sims are like, I can't use this counter, it's occupied. And this basically allows Sims to cook anywhere. The entryway, I really loved how the dining table turned out. I did pile up a whole bunch of things on the dining table. We have a huge lavish fruit bowl, we have a vase with flowers, which I'm always just so tempted to place flowers everywhere in every single house. It's my favorite thing. I am a crazy flower lady in real life. I have a lot of houseplants. It's insanity in my house, but it's very tempting to do this all over the place in The Sims. But I thought, like, Olive Specter is not the kind of person who's gonna have a ton of flowers. Like, she's the lady of death. She's not the lady of keeping plants alive. So I don't have a lot of dead flower decorations in The Sims, but maybe I should get some of that for Olive's house. So yeah, I try to keep it pretty tame with the flowers. She does have like a wine bottle in the center of her dining room. It's just, it's looking just so perfectly on brand for her. Now for Ophelia's room, I did use this little dresser sort of thing. I think it's completely decorative, but this is from a little set that I recently downloaded. So we have this shelf, this little dresser, the desk, the chair, they're all from a matching set. And I've been pinning in a secret little Pinterest board all of the custom content that I've been downloading this last month. So at the end of the month, I will basically give you guys a link to everything that I've downloaded, because I get questions about my custom content all the time, and I've said this before, I have over 10 gigabytes of custom content, and now that I have a new computer that is not dying every single second, which is amazing, I feel so blessed, I can afford to have more custom content in my game. So I'm just gradually, very carefully selecting really nice little things that I want to include in my game, and I've also been purging some old custom content. So at the end of the month, I will share the link to this collection on Pinterest with everything that I've downloaded in March, so that you guys can get the same stuff that I use in my builds. Other than that, every time you see me use something in particular that you like in my videos, leave me a comment down below, give me a timestamp, say, hey, I really like this object, can you tell me where you got it? I'll try to do my best to find a link for you guys. Some objects are like super duper old, so I've had them in my game. Like, some of the CC, like, this is crazy, guys, I'm serious. Some of the custom content that I have in my game, I've literally been dragging this custom content around since the very first installment I have of The Sims 4, of The Sims 2, what am I talking about? Oh my god, of The Sims 2 since way back in the day, like since release, like 2004, 2005. Some of the custom content I have in my game is that old. Like, I was a little wee child, I didn't know what the heck the internet was, but I knew what mod The Sims was, and I was downloading stuff. Not understanding what I'm doing, but I was downloading and putting stuff in my game. So I've been carrying around all of this custom content throughout the years, and some of it I've been purging, some of it I've been keeping. Over the years, I've experimented with all sorts of aesthetics. Like, I've tried alpha CC, I've tried semi-realistic, I've tried fantasy, I've tried, you know, all sorts of things. And now currently I've settled, and probably it's gonna remain like this for the foreseeable future, for this like sort of Maxis matchy, kind of realistic, kind of not looking too bad not looking too bad custom content. It's basically Maxis Match Plus. I do keep some like more realistic objects. I have a lot of conversions from The Sims 4. I get a lot of questions about that as well. Yes, I use a lot of conversions from The Sims 4. I even have some conversions from The Sims 3. But I think The Sims 4 conversions look pretty good. A lot of people have converted basically their entire game with just Sims 4 objects and hair, skin, makeup, just everything. So you see these Sims in The Sims 2 and these houses that just look so... Sometimes you see screenshots and it's like, wait, which game is this? I'm not sure that much about The Sims 4 aesthetics. In particular, I don't really like how the clay hair looks in The Sims 2, because it doesn't even have like movement. It kind of looks very flat. But I do have a couple of hairs that are just, you know, they're just too good to not have. What we're looking at right now is Olive's room. It's sort of this three-tiered situation. We have her bedroom, and then we have this archway which walks into this sort of walk-in closet sort of situation. It's just the dressing room, and then we have her bathroom, and then from her bathroom we have the secret door that only she can access and unlock that leads down into her basement, where she does her sacred rituals, and she invites guests that don't go in there willingly, let's put it that way. You'll see what she does. You'll see what she does in that room. So yeah, some of the details in Olive's room I think are just so perfectly on brand with her. We have like this creepy painting with this anatomical sort of sketch on the wall. We have mushrooms. Olive's bio says that she likes mushrooms, so I'm like, yeah, perfect. Some mushrooms instead of plants. Candles, of course, candles. She has a couple of urns as decorations. Like, who knows? Those might be actually real urns with someone's remains. It's just perfectly on brand for her. And in the dungeon, I started placing down all sorts of clutter before I started organizing things. Now, don't get too used to this for a second because I do make this slightly smaller. As I said earlier, I went kind of crazy and made the basement rooms a little bit too big, and then I realized, I'm not really sure how I feel about these, but we have 2 rooms, one of which contains a cell because, listen, all of those gravestones you see like in the cemetery out there, where did those people come from? Where did they stay before they ended up in those graves? Well, they stayed down here in her dungeon, in her cell. Nobody can hear them scream. And it's kind of crazy, but I actually have had these body bags. Please don't call the police on me. I promise I'm completely normal. But I had these body bags, custom content objects, because I used to play like, this is one of those custom content objects that I've been just carrying around since forever in my game, because one of the first stories that I used to write in my like original gameplay of The Sims way back in the day was a murder mystery. So I use these for like pictures and stuff like that. So we have body bags, we have a lot of dirt, we have a lot of clutter on the floor. There's basically nothing in the cell except for a loo. There's just a toilet and a whole bunch of toilet paper rolls. Because I believe Olive is like, I can tolerate these prisoners getting through everything, but I'm not gonna tolerate cleaning up their what. The room with the cell also contains a big barrel for wine or other things fermenting, who knows what, because as I said, Olive is a connoisseur of wine. She loves it. She's always walking around with a wine glass. She loves going wine tasting. She loves the lavish, finest things in life. She's a very grouchy sim, but she is a professional party guest. Like, she is at the top of her career, so she must be well liked, right? She's successful at what she does, and even though she is kind of grouchy and maybe gets in fights with people, maybe steals their newspapers or stuff like that, she's still pretty popular. She's still out there, and a lot of people know her, and she has a decent reputation. I imagine that people are inviting her to their parties because she's just so eccentric. She's so eccentric and interesting. She makes for a very interesting guest. Like, she probably has a lot of cool and weird and creepy and disturbing stories to tell. And some people are like, oh, this little old lady, she's quite creepy. Like, why is she like this? Like, why is she saying these things? She's probably kind of crazy. Little do they know, most of the stories are true. So yeah, the room with the cell is the wine room and the prison room. And the other room is her little witchy setup. She has this crystal ball, she has herbs, she has tarot cards, incense, she has this piano, which this is a decorative object. You cannot play the piano on this one, it's just, pure deco. And then as you're seeing, I'm shrinking down everything because I was like, wait, this is way too big. It just doesn't seem cramped enough. It's a dungeon. It needs to seem a little bit cramped. So I made everything a little bit smaller, and basically I just have to reshift every single object, including the decorations we had on the floors, which was just such a pain, but I did it in the end. Now back outside, I didn't change the fences way too much. I settled on this mix of concrete and iron, this low fence, and the white fences that we have on the corners, I actually ended up not changing those because I just couldn't find something that I liked well enough. Now the graveyard, I didn't change the graveyard all too much. I thought it's just perfect the way it is. I just added a little bit of decorations. I later on added a path. I expanded it just a little bit on the sides, and I did add some decorative tombstones so we can imagine. Some tombstones are older, some are newer, some new ones are popping up. Like, what are those? Who do those belong to? Why are there random new tombstones in the yard? I imagine Ophelia is like, oh my god, what is my aunt doing? Like, this is so disturbing. And then I went kind of crazy with the landscaping. There's a lot of landscaping in this house. Of course, Strangetown isn't a desert, so I couldn't go crazy and super lush, but I imagine like there are just these bushes and cacti here and there. You'll see what I do with this thing. I just wanted to outline the path basically just a little bit and give the yard something more to look at. So we have cacti, we have little bushes, we have even some ferns. It's kind of wild. It's kind of bushy. I'm probably gonna have to hire a gardener to take care of all of this because it's gonna go crazy real quick if we just leave it like that. I also detailed a little bit with some extra terrain paint. You can't really see that too much, but when you're close up in the game, you can actually see the variables in the terrain colors, which it's the little things that count. I don't want to oversaturate the view, so to speak. I don't want to go so crazy that it's overwhelming to look at every single corner. Oh, and of course I added a pool. I was like, there's just no way. I cannot not add a swimming pool. And it's just kind of weird, you know? You have a swimming pool and it looks just so welcoming, and this hot weather, I imagine, is just so refreshing to go for a dip in the pool. And then there's a graveyard right next to it. And it looks so fun. It looks like great fun. I imagine Olive's guests are just having the time of their life every time they come here. Here's what I'm doing with the graveyard. I just added a little path that Olive can take up to her little throne where she can admire her life's work. I bet she's really proud of what she's done. And some extra decorative tombstones, a little bit of vegetation at the front, some flowers, whatnot. You know, nothing crazy. The next day, this is my second gameplay session with this house. The next day I looked at this entrance and I'm like, the floor, like you can see the floor trim, and it was annoying me so much. It was just so obvious, and I thought, I cannot tolerate this. So I used these little, I don't know what these are even called. It's basically a floor trim. They're from the Bespoke Build set. You guys, if you've been here, you know all about it. I swear by the Bespoke Build set. It's the best thing ever. I used these for the entire front section of the house where the floor was visible because it was just annoying me too much. And it's such a little detail. It's not really noticeable. If you're not paying attention to it, you'll never see it. But it was annoying me. And I cannot annoy me this much, so I had to do it. And then I discovered that I had these sort of planterns. I don't even know what these are called. I have to check it out. These are cloned objects from the Buggy Boo's niches. If you know, you know. I might try to find a link to these if you guys want to use these. But I thought these just look so well because they're in a brick. And the brick just matches the rest of the house so perfectly. So I did add those as sort of planters and put some extra vegetation there, which really brought the art together and gave it a finished look. One last touch, I am just putting an edge around the swimming pool, and this is it. This is the finished Specter house. Olive is a professional party guest. Kind of an unusual profession for a woman of such seemingly odd nature. However, it is her eccentric behavior and dark humor that makes her stand out in her industry. She regularly hosts lavish dinner parties at her house. Despite the graveyard being the centerpiece of her garden, Olive's guests always feel welcome at this unique home. Nobody doubts why Olive is so successful at her job. She has a dark humor like nobody else and always tells intriguing stories about her many marriages. Surprisingly, Olive is quite close to Dina Caliente, a Strangetown native who recently moved to Pleasantview. What do these two bond over? Well, Olive is a woman who knows how to get what she wants, and Dina admires that quality. You could say Olive is somewhat of a mentor for the ambitious young sim. Meanwhile, Olive's niece, Ophelia, is more focused on getting out of this house. She is making moves on Johnny Smith, with whom she is already in a committed relationship. She thinks she'll feel more at home with Johnny's family, if they would have her. Ophelia is uncomfortable living here, her intuition screaming at her to run away. It's just, there's something weird about Aunt Olive, you know. She sometimes disappears. For hours. She vanishes into her room, but I can't hear her there. She cackles and sometimes cockroaches appear where she had been just seconds ago. She smells of smoke, iron, and sometimes hydrogen peroxide. Her fingertips are black with charcoal, with dirt under her nails. Sometimes I see her out my bedroom window, walking into the graveyard during the darkest hours of the night, dragging heavy bags filled with who knows what. Then, when she thinks that nobody's watching, she starts digging. She always walks around with a glass of red wine, or something that looks like it. Then she sits and laughs and waits. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this lot renovation. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I love reading what you guys have to say, your opinions, ideas. Tell me what you do with this household in your game. I hope you're just as excited for our Strangetown lot renovations as I am. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you soon with another Sims 2 video. Bye!